You got a good week?
Oh, it was great.
Yeah, you ready for today?
Oh, yeah.
We're going to open up this show with an interview we did yesterday, actually, on the phone with Mr. Justin Pearson of Retox and 31G Records and The Locust and so on and so forth. They have a new record, the Retox does, or just Retox, has a new record called Beneath California that comes out on Epitaph Records on Tuesday. And let's go to that conversation we had with Justin yesterday. Last time we talked on a Pint of Cacophony, we had Michael Crane in studio and you on the phone, and you guys mentioned that you were working on Beneath California. Do you want to fill in the gap for our audience and tell us about the conception and birth of Beneath California?
Well, it's a weird question, because I feel like the stuff that we do is more organic than like sort of mapped out and specific. So it's always easier, like once it's done and you've had some time to reflect on it, then you can kind of conceptualize what happened.
Yeah, like looking back.
So, yeah, because I think, there's already a start to what I could, my critique of it, I guess. It's like after YPLL, we kind of decided to get, I don't know, like, to maybe have it be less produced, sort of, and have just kind of hone in on like certain elements. And even though this is like our third, I guess by some standards, third album or full length, I still feel like we're kind of honing in on certain elements that which would define Retox. So I think we're still kind of like evolving, and that's something that I would always welcome, and I hope that Retox or any project that me or Mike or whoever's involved in will always constantly be evolving.
Like a good band, like seasoned musicians that aren't, just what are we doing this year? What are we going to do this next 6 months? We're growing as people and as musicians, and each project is part of that growth, rather than like, let's do this release and then in 2016 we're going to do another release. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I also feel like we don't really have the ability to say like, in this month or this year, let's do this. Like we kind of, it sounds cheesy, but we live day by day, we do have to schedule things ahead of time, but we're all hustling and we have, like kind of crazy busy lives. And so it's not as easy as it would be like if this is like our job or something.
What's the meaning behind the title Beneath California?
Well, I was kind of just throwing some ideas out, and Mike really seemed to like it. And basically, I think it was just kind of drawing attention to, like below the actual soil of the state, like below the ground, like what grows out of California. And it's sort of maybe it's not as like punk or something as like as someone would want to think, but it's also like, for me specifically, like growing up in San Diego, everyone always would ask like, why does all this weird stuff come out of San Diego? And it was always kind of like this sort of tongue-in-cheek joke that you'd say like, it's in the water, and metaphorically it is, because it's like we're all drinking this fucked up shit to make us do what we do, and I don't know why or how. I do kind of have an idea. I think at least for San Diego, again, because I can't speak for Mike, and it's pretty like a pretty wide topic, I guess, because for me, growing up in San Diego, there was never a platform for being creative. There was always kind of like military city, and there was always this like sort of like Republican stronghold and just a lot of institutional racist and shit. So I feel like all the weird kind of like artistic and creative and activist type stuff that's come out here has just been this really like sort of offhanded slap in the face of society and maybe even the world at large in some respects and with some elements.
Just you touched on this earlier, but living in San Diego and being a seasoned musician, what have you noticed about the differences between Los Angeles and San Diego music scenes? And have you noticed any like big changes over the years for better or worse?
Well, there's a few strange things that I always focus on. Even when I met up with a friend of mine, we were talking to a cafe in San Diego and how UCSD closed it down. And the thing with San Diego is there's really never a decent platform for people to be, musically or even artistically. There's not a lot of, here we're welcome, creative arts. It's just like we just want tourism, and there's like this fucked up border patrol element, and like just a lot of kind of really crazy, like sort of hostility towards, especially people of color, but a lot of people that are just kind of more creative and actually diverse.
Like life's eccentricity is worth welcome.
Exactly, because it is. I think it's like, how is this city going to make money? We're one of the more desired cities as far as tourism goes. So like, I think that's just what they focus on. But then with Los Angeles too, it's like you do have this music that's sort of, I don't understand. It's like, to me, no offense to Los Angeles, because there's awesome stuff Just like, and there's the Echo. There's a lot of really great venues. There's great restaurants. There's great record stores. There's all this really progressive stuff. There's really cool art. But as far as music, when you look at it from an outsider's perspective, it reminds me of like this leathery kind of like rocker dude who grew up like with hair metal and then kind of like grew up and like, because there's like these like kind of shitty venues, and even playing there now, it's like this is this fucked up element of like just kind of gross garbage. And I feel like times have changed. It's not like big hair and cocaine, like it's about that crap. There's not even record labels anymore. But again, with my criticisms of Angeles and my criticisms of San Diego, I think the two of them work really well next to each other. And hell, it helped create what is now Retox through 20 years, but of friendship. But I mean, it's a strange thing to perceive and to try to wrap your head around it. Because there are so many different elements. Even growing up too, like there was so much cool stuff in like Boyle Heights. There's like all these hardcore bands, and even like kind of like the whole power violence element, or like even like a lot of the straight edge bands and stuff. Like there's been like a lot of rad stuff. There still is constantly rad stuff coming out of Los Angeles, but when you look at it from an outsider's perspective, you just kind of like, what do you want, a facade of rock, dying rock or something, It does. It reminds me of like a dude that's like kind of leathery,
Yeah, like that, like Iggy Pop's cheeks, but like all over their body. So you're kicking this tour off this coming Tuesday, the same day as the release of this heavy hitter, touring Europe, UK, and the United States. What's a day in the life of like for Retox on tour?
Not as exciting as one would think. I mean, there's a long drive. We do like an extreme amount of driving, and then load in, sound check, and then you just wait for the show to happen. And then after that, it's like go, try to figure out where you're going to sleep. But the day in the life of Retox on tour definitely comes down to I think the dialogue that happens in the van, because I think with Brian and Juice, our tour manager, it's a bit bizarre dialogue comes up, and it's anything from just jokes, but to like, I don't know, like just theories about, aliens, or it's like the whole gamut of just stuff. Never have a dull moment.
It's playing over 40 dates across this planet, almost back to back the whole way through. Over the years, do you find yourself gearing up for tour or preparing differently as the years go on?
The things that I should do, I don't do, because I usually spend a few days before I leave, like trying to get everything taken care of, the bills, and because I also run 31G, so I have to do all these things, make sure all these things are shipped to distributors, and I don't know. There's all these things I have to do, and then I just go, oh, I probably should have like rehearsed, or I haven't sang in a month, and my voice is I'm gonna blow my voice out. Things like that.
You guys have any other goals other than this tour and supporting this record for 2015?
I mean, I'm sure something will happen. There's talk of little things here and there. What everybody has in store. I do have, I did work on Twin City Records, so I think that we're going to be releasing an LP and doing a little bit of touring with that as well. But as far as Retox, I'm sure something will present itself, especially after doing so much touring. We'll cross a path that will kind of tie into the next segment.
We were fucking around on Instagram a little earlier. We caught this thing. We wanted you to fill us in about what's going on with the NPA, the National Promotions and Advertising, and your guys' posters that have been up around town.
Oh, yeah, I think they just want us to stop. So it's just like it's like the legal threatening jargon that I guess they have. I don't know how you would really prove it that we did it, but it is kind of a triggered out. Like they addressed it specifically to our rep at Epitaph Self, and I guess I could see why, because it 31G is tied to it. It's online. It says 31G.
Oh, nice voice, Dan.
Oh, that was a really great interview with Justin, but when I got the file back from the recorder, we digitally called him to record that interview, and for some reason on my mic, I don't know if the bitrate got fucked up, but my voice went all chipmunky. I'd like to apologize for that, but you can catch Retox when they hit Los Angeles on for this side of the tour on March 10th with Horrors at Los Globos. Yeah. We're planning on being there. We're going to cover the night, and we'll remind you guys as it gets closer. But you can get Beneath California. That comes out tomorrow on Epitaph Records. Get that shit. It's fucking fantastic. We're going to play some of it right now. And then we're going to bring in them Howling Bones. They're out there in the green room enjoying some libations.
Libations.
A pint of cacophony.
A pint of cacophony.